There is a form of mental discipline so profound that even accomplished men step back in quiet recognition when they witness it in action. Today, you will discover the ancient Japanese secret that transforms the restless mind into an instrument of infinite learning, where every moment becomes a gateway to deeper mastery. Have you ever encountered someone who approaches each day as if seeing the world for the first time? Who faces familiar challenges with the fresh eyes of discovery, never trapped by what they think they already know? While others become prisoners of their own expertise, these individuals move through life with the fluid grace of water, adapting, absorbing, growing without limits. They embody something the Japanese call Shoshin, the beginner's mind, and once you understand its true power, you will never approach learning the same way again. But there is a warning. This ancient wisdom demands something most people are unwilling to give. It requires you to let go of who you think you are and be reborn as someone capable of eternal growth. Before I reveal how this transformation works, I need you to engage with this teaching. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like below, and comment on what skill or knowledge you most want to master in your life. This interaction helps me reach more seekers like yourself and shows me you are genuinely committed to this path of inner transformation. Let us begin. The story I'm about to share begins with a man named David, a software architect with 15 years of experience, advanced degrees, and the respect of his peers. He had climbed every ladder his profession offered, solved complex problems that stumped younger developers, and earned recognition as an expert in his field. Yet David carried a secret burden that gnawed at his confidence with each passing day. He had stopped learning. What once felt like exciting challenges now felt like variations of problems he had already solved. New technologies emerged constantly, but David found himself dismissing them before truly understanding them. His mind would whisper, "This is just another framework doing what we already know how to do." When junior developers brought fresh perspectives to meetings, David would internally critique their naivety instead of listening to their insights. The beginner's enthusiasm that had once fueled his growth had been replaced by the heavy armor of accumulated knowledge. This pattern extended beyond his professional life. David had studied piano for 3 years, but plateaued because he refused to return to basic techniques that felt beneath his intermediate level. He attempted to learn Spanish, but abandoned it when the elementary grammar exercises felt too simple for his educated mind. He bought books on meditation, philosophy, and martial arts, but each time his expertise in one domain made him impatient with being a beginner in another. The breaking point came during a company innovation retreat. A 24-year-old intern presented a solution to a problem that had puzzled David's team for months. The approach was elegantly simple, using principles David knew but had never thought to combine in such a way. As colleagues praised the intern's creativity, David felt something crack inside him. He realized he had become exactly what he once feared most, an expert so trapped by his knowledge that he could no longer see clearly. That night, unable to sleep, David began researching why some people continued growing throughout their lives while others stagnated despite their intelligence and experience. His search led him deep into Japanese philosophy, to the monasteries where monks maintained their capacity for wonder despite decades of practice, and to the warriors who approached each battle as if it were their first, regardless of their victories. In the mountain temples of 13th century Japan, there lived a Zen master named Dōgen, who understood something about the human mind that would revolutionize how we think about learning and mastery. Dōgen observed that his most advanced students often became the greatest obstacles to their own enlightenment. The more they knew about meditation, the more their minds would categorize, judge, and dismiss new experiences based on past understanding. He watched beginners sit in meditation with pure presence, while experienced practitioners sat with the accumulated weight of their spiritual knowledge, creating barriers to direct experience. The beginners' minds were like empty cups, ready to be filled, while the experts' minds were like full cups, unable to receive anything new. This observation led Dōgen to develop what he called Shoshin, literally meaning beginner's mind, a state of openness, eagerness, and freedom from preconceptions. Shoshin was not about being ignorant or abandoning hard-earned knowledge. Instead, it was about maintaining the psychological flexibility to approach each moment with fresh awareness. A master swordsman practicing Shoshin would hold his sword as if touching it for the first time, not to forget his skill, but to discover new dimensions of mastery that his expertise might otherwise blind him to. The monks who mastered Shoshin developed a particular way of engaging with their practice. They would approach the meditation hall each morning as if they had never meditated before, allowing themselves to be surprised by what they discovered in stillness. They studied familiar texts with the curiosity of first-time readers, finding new meanings that their previous understanding had concealed. They performed daily rituals with the attentiveness of novices, transforming routine into revelation. This was not mere philosophical theory. Dōgen and his followers documented specific mental techniques for cultivating beginner's mind. They practiced what they called don't know mind, deliberately releasing attachment to conclusions and remaining open to unexpected insights. They developed exercises in fresh seeing, looking at familiar objects and experiences as if encountering them for the first time. They cultivated what they termed soft expertise, holding their knowledge lightly rather than rigidly. David discovered that Shoshin represented a fundamental shift in how the mind relates to experience. Instead of using past knowledge to predict and control the present, practitioners learned to use their experience as a foundation for deeper exploration. Their expertise became a launching pad for discovery rather than a ceiling that limited growth. Modern brain research has revealed why Shoshin produces such extraordinary results in learning and performance. When we approach familiar situations with beginner's mind, studies suggest specific neural networks activate that remain dormant during routine expert behavior. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for creative problem solving, shows increased activity when we consciously adopt a curious, open mindset toward known subjects. Dr. Sarah Chen, a neuroscientist at Stanford University who has studied learning patterns for over a decade, explains that expertise creates neural shortcuts that improve efficiency but can limit perception. When we encounter familiar situations, our brains automatically activate established neural pathways, processing information through existing frameworks. This efficiency comes at a cost. We literally see less, notice fewer details, and miss unexpected connections that could lead to breakthrough insights. However, when individuals consciously cultivate beginner's mind, research indicates activation in regions associated with novelty detection and pattern recognition. The anterior cingulate cortex, which monitors for surprises and inconsistencies, becomes more active. The hippocampus, crucial for forming new memories and connections, shows enhanced engagement. Most significantly, the default mode network, which typically reinforces existing mental patterns, shows decreased activity, allowing for more flexible thinking. David began experimenting with these principles in his own learning. Instead of approaching new programming languages through the lens of languages he already knew, he forced himself to engage with them as completely foreign systems. He would spend time simply observing the syntax without immediately categorizing it as similar to familiar patterns. This approach felt uncomfortable at first, even inefficient, but it led to insights that dramatically improved his coding style. The transformation was not limited to technical skills. David applied Shoshin to his relationship with his teenage daughter, approaching their conversations without the assumption that he knew what she was thinking or feeling based on previous interactions. He discovered aspects of her personality and perspectives that his parental expertise had prevented him from seeing. Their relationship deepened as he learned to listen with genuine curiosity, rather than the filtered attention of someone who thought he already understood. The practice of beginner's mind began reshaping David's entire approach to experience. He started taking different routes to work, not for efficiency, but to see his city with fresh eyes. He attended lectures on subjects outside his expertise, not to become an expert, but to experience the joy of being a complete novice. He joined a pottery class where his software engineering knowledge was irrelevant. forcing him to engage with learning in its purest form. The deeper David explored Shoshin, the more he realized it was not about becoming ignorant, but about becoming strategically selective about when and how to apply his expertise. In Japanese martial arts, there is a concept called beginner's luck, which masters understand is not luck at all, but the natural result of approaching technique without the mental interference of overthinking. A student learning to draw a bow for the first time often achieves remarkable accuracy because their mind is focused entirely on the immediate task without the burden of analyzing technique, predicting outcomes, or comparing performance to past attempts. Their attention is pure, undiluted by mental commentary. As students develop skill, they often experience a temporary decline in performance as their minds become cluttered with technical knowledge and self-judgment. The master archer learns to return to that original state of pure attention while retaining the benefits of their training. They achieve what practitioners call skillful innocence, the ability to access beginner's mind while drawing upon years of experience. This is the true mastery of Shoshin, not the abandonment of knowledge, but the wisdom to know when to hold it lightly. David discovered this principle had profound applications in his professional life. During brainstorming sessions, he began deliberately setting aside his technical expertise for the initial exploration phase, allowing ideas to emerge without immediately filtering them through feasibility concerns. His team noticed that his contributions became more creative and unexpected. He would then apply his experience during the refinement phase, but the initial creative burst remained uncontaminated by premature analysis. This strategic approach to expertise extended to his personal relationships. When his wife shared concerns about their finances, instead of immediately offering solutions based on his analytical mindset, David learned to first listen with beginner's mind, approaching her perspective as if he had never considered the issue before. This shift from expert to explorer transformed their communication, revealing underlying concerns and creative solutions that his assumption of understanding had previously obscured. The practice of strategic ignorance required David to develop what he came to think of as meta-awareness, the ability to observe his own mental processes and consciously choose when to engage expert mode and when to cultivate beginner's mind. This was not a natural skill, but a discipline that required constant refinement. He practiced holding meetings with the curiosity of someone attending their first business discussion, approaching familiar problems as unexplored territories. His expertise became a tool rather than a filter, available when needed but never blocking fresh perception. This meta-awareness transformed from conscious effort into natural rhythm, like breathing that happens automatically yet can be consciously directed when necessary. Years before David's awakening, another seeker had walked this path with consequences that would reshape the world. In 1974, a 19-year-old named Steve Jobs wrote to his childhood friend about Buddhism and his plans to travel to India in search of spiritual enlightenment. What he discovered there was not mystical revelation, but the practical power of Shoshin applied to creation and innovation. Jobs returned from India with a shaven head and a mindset he later described as profoundly influenced by his encounter with beginner's consciousness. He had learned to approach each project as if encountering it for the first time, regardless of his growing expertise in design and technology. This was not ignorance masquerading as wisdom, but sophisticated innocence, the ability to see possibilities that experience might otherwise obscure. When developing the iPhone, Jobs insisted his team approach smartphone design as if smartphones had never existed. They studied the human hand as if no one had ever held a communication device. They examined the relationship between finger and screen as if touch had never been considered as an interface method. This deliberate cultivation of beginner's mind led to innovations that experts in the mobile industry had deemed impossible or unnecessary. The genius of Jobs was his understanding that expertise could become the enemy of breakthrough innovation. He watched established companies fail to innovate not from lack of resources or talent, but from the weight of accumulated assumptions about what was possible or practical. Their expertise had become their prison, creating mental frameworks that filtered out revolutionary possibilities before they could be seriously considered. Jobs institutionalized Shoshin within Apple's culture, creating processes that forced even the most experienced engineers to approach familiar problems with fresh perspectives. Design reviews began with the question, what would we create if we had never seen a computer before? Product development included exercises where teams had to explain their innovations to complete novices, ensuring that complexity never obscured essential simplicity. This commitment to beginner's mind extended to aspects of products that customers would never see. Jobs demanded that internal components be as elegantly designed as external interfaces, not for marketing purposes, but to maintain the psychological state of craftsmanship that produces true innovation. Like a Zen master who polishes stones that will never be displayed, Jobs understood that the invisible practice of excellence shapes the visible expression of mastery. The impact of this philosophy reached far beyond technology. Jobs' approach influenced entire industries to reconsider their relationship with expertise and innovation. Companies began hiring people specifically for their ability to maintain beginner's mind rather than their accumulated knowledge. Universities started teaching courses on intellectual humility and the psychology of learning. The business world slowly awakened to what Zen masters had known for centuries, that true mastery includes the wisdom to remain teachable. In 2004, in a laboratory at the University of Manchester, two scientists embodied the spirit of Shoshin in a way that would earn them the Nobel Prize and transform materials science forever. Andrei Geim and Konstantin Novoselov approached their research with what the Nobel Committee later praised as playfulness, a quality that proved fundamental to their revolutionary discovery. These researchers faced a problem that had puzzled materials scientists for decades. Graphite, composed of layers of carbon atoms, was known to have extraordinary properties, but no one had successfully isolated a single layer to study its characteristics. The scientific community had developed increasingly complex and expensive approaches to this challenge, each building upon established methodologies and accepted limitations. Geim and Novoselov chose a different path. Instead of adding complexity to existing approaches, they embraced radical simplicity. Their breakthrough came through using ordinary adhesive tape to peel away layers of graphite, a technique so elementary that more serious researchers might have dismissed it as child's play. This was Shoshin in action, the willingness to approach a sophisticated problem with the unencumbered thinking of a beginner. Their beginner's mind allowed them to see what expertise had rendered invisible. While other scientists focused on complex chemical processes and expensive equipment, these researchers maintained the psychological flexibility to recognize profound significance in simple methods. They approached their work with curiosity rather than preconception, allowing the material itself to teach them rather than forcing it to conform to existing theories. The discovery of graphene revolutionized multiple fields simultaneously. This single layer of carbon atoms proved stronger than steel, more conductive than copper, and more flexible than rubber. Its properties opened possibilities for revolutionary advances in electronics, medicine, energy storage, and materials engineering. Yet the discovery emerged not from sophisticated analysis, but from maintaining the fresh perspective that expertise often obscures. The path of Shoshin transforms the prison of expertise into the freedom of eternal discovery. David's journey from trapped expert to liberated learner mirrors the choice that awaits every seeker. When you embrace beginner's mind, you stop being someone who knows and become someone who continuously awakens to new possibilities. The ancient masters understood what modern science now confirms, that true mastery lies not in accumulating knowledge, but in maintaining the capacity for wonder. Your expertise becomes a foundation for exploration rather than a ceiling for growth. If this teaching has stirred something within you, share in the comments what skill you will approach with fresh eyes today. And remember, the beginner's mind is not a destination but a way of traveling through life. Now it's your turn to step onto the path. In the comments below, declare the identity you choose to embody from this day forward. Not a goal, not a plan, an identity. Who do you become when hesitation ends? Write it, seal it, and let this be the first step of your own unbreakable self.